Hello. One expression that the new emphasis on reason that we associate with the Enlightenment took was a series of developments in an emerging field, the field of science, that ultimately can be described as a revolution because the changes in science that unfolded in the course of the late 16th and early 17th century shifted the entire way of understanding of human relationship to the natural world. And I want to give a brief overview of how that unfolded in the period that we're looking at in this unit on the Enlightenment. One thing that may seem initially to be anomaly or a paradox or surprising is the fact that the scientific revolution unfolded in precisely the same time as a phenomenon in Europe known as the witch hunt, which is the primary focus of the text that you'll be reading, the trial of Temple Annika. And one question that I want to pose right from the outset is, how do we hold these two realities together, that the new confidence about human ability to understand and control nature went hand in hand with what might seem to be a sharp rise in superstition or a fear of the actual visible presence of evil in the natural world that is caught up with the witch hunt. We'll frame that question for now, but I want us to come back to it. Basically, the scientific revolution fits into a series of movements in Western European history that began in some ways with the Renaissance and will continue with the Enlightenment and continues even to this day, of a assumption that the world is best understood by the use of reason, and that the authority of reason, rational authority, is actually the most trustworthy, the most powerful form of human authority, significantly more important than charisma, clearly more important than tradition, and obviously more efficient than coercion. So I want to trace how that unfolded in Europe in the course of the 17th century, looking primarily at science. And I want to do that by looking at what historians call cosmology, that is the understanding of the heavens and the place of humans and the earth in what we today would call astronomy. Where does the earth fit in terms of the bigger picture of the universe? It's important to note that up until about the middle of the 16th century, the dominant picture of cosmology is one that can be traced all the way back to the 6th century BC, to Aristotle, and then to an Egyptian astronomer and mathematician in the 2nd century AD by the name of Ptolemy. And that basic view of the universe is often called a geocentric view of the universe, geo referring to Earth. And the assumption is a very commonsensical way of describing the movement of the heavenly spheres, that the Earth is at the center of the universe, and that the rest of the visible planets and stars, the sun, the moon, move in a concentric circle around the Earth. After all, the sun rises in the east, it sets in the west. We can track the movement of the moon across the horizons. The stars, if you follow them, appear to move. And all of this, part of the understanding of the universe, was that this was in, that they were perfectly, that the planets were encased in perfectly round spheres, and that they moved in perfect harmony. In fact, that you could write a harmonious music set to the movement of the planets. It was also assumed that this harmonious and perfectly concentric, perfectly regular movement of the planets around the Earth reflected God himself, that it was a part of the divine order of creation. And again, it conforms to our senses, to what we see, what we experience. And this view held sway for, well, 2,000 years, and it began to be challenged in the middle of the 16th